Welcome to Reshair on ESPN 730. For the next hour, your host, Chris Reshaar, will bring fresh air to your financial needs. Excite, educate, and empower you to make sound financial decisions. Chris is a seasoned licensed mortgage consultant with NFM Lending. Originator license number 117266. Now, here's your host, Chris Reshaar.
Welcome to Reshair Radio. I'm your show host, Chris Reshaar, licensed loan officer with NFM Lending. If you have never listened to Reshair Radio before, I'm excited that you are for the first time. And you probably heard in our opener that the show really is about educating, exciting, and empowering Charlotteans to make sound financial decisions. And we do that really by bringing in area experts that can help you make decisions. Yeah, I'm a licensed loan officer, but you don't need a loan all the time, right? And who wants to talk about mortgages all the time? So I might have a financial planner on the show, or we might have a homeowner's insurance person. We might have a credit repair person. We have a realtor on the show on a pretty regular basis. So that's really what we do, bring in area specialists and experts to educate you on these topics and keep those things fresh in your mind to make good financial decisions. So let me jump in and introduce our special guest and our expert contributors for our show for the week. So first of all, I'm going to mention that Jay McElveen with McElveen Agency, powered by Goosehead Insurance, is our sponsor today. He is going to be on our fourth segment of the show, toward the end of our show. He does homeowners insurance. I call him the homeowners insurance king because pretty much everybody that I get to him, he gets a policy quote done in minutes and is usually cheaper with better coverage than most of the national carriers. Not all, but does a great job. So, Jay, we're looking forward to have you on later in the show. But let's get to our special guest. We've got Mike Troche with NFM Lending. Mike, welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Mike is a repeat offender with Reshair Radio.
It is true.
And Mike is a loan officer with NFM Lending. He's been on the team here with me. We actually helped Mike get in the business in 2017. We'll talk a little bit more with Mike here in a little bit. And we've got Dee Langley with Caldwell Banker, realtor extraordinaire.
Thank you for having me today.
Welcome to have. We're really glad to have you here, Dee. So we've known each other for a number of years, and you are obviously a big agent in the market. You do a lot of work in the southern side of Charlotte, Union County. I know you work all over the place, but that's where I see your name pop up a lot.
Correct.
So let's jump in. You've been a realtor now for, 10 years?
For 10 years. I actually got in right at the crash. I got in 2008. Perfect timing.
It is perfect timing. I mean, it isn't, right? Like yes. A hard time to start, but really the right time to start, because if you can be successful when it's tough, then you can definitely make it when things loosen up and the market improves.
Correct.
So you're licensed both North and South Carolina. You live in Union County. And you say you have a special tagline. Tell us about that.
My tagline is with you every step of the way. One of the big things about me is that I believe in family. And family is number one, and it's critical. Whether you're a single person, you're a single family. Whether you're a couple, whether you have children, whether you're empty nesters.
Or pets. Some people like pets.
Oh, yeah. Your family is unique to you, but you need a partner when you're doing this. And it's one of the joys about being in real estate for the last 10 years. I still talk to the very first couple who I ever sold a home to.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah. And so the biggest thing about it is that, I feel bad when the sale closes because I've talked to them so much over a certain period of time, but I still send birthday cards. I still send home anniversary cards. I call and check in on them, see how the kids are doing. If somebody gets sick, hey, do you need some soup? What can I do for you?
Right.
So when I say I'm with you every step of the way, it's not just in real estate.
I already want to sign you up as my realtor because I need soup when I'm sick.
Exactly.
Cool. Really cool. Mike, let's talk a little bit about your story just because it's fun in my opinion. So Mike has gone from money dough to bread and then back to money dough. So it's all in the dough family, right?
It's all about dough. Just a different dough perspective.
So you really just kind of came on strong here as a loan officer, started in 2017, rolling out now into your first full year of mortgage lending. What kind of got you in the business?
It was actually doing my own mortgage. I had a business that I did here in Charlotte for 10 years, and I was getting near the tail end of it, thinking I'm going to sell this. What am I going to do next? And prior to moving to Charlotte, I was a licensed stockbroker, investment consultant, and relationship manager. And in thinking about what I was going to do after I sold this business, which it was actually bread distribution, hence the dough jokes, was, I was thinking, do I get back to stocks and bonds, or what am I going to do? I missed the financial aspect of numbers and really helping people. And, putting a piece of bread on the shelf really doesn't change the world or help anybody, except if they say there's going to be snow in Charlotte, then you're the most important guy.
So you were investing in it first, then you were selling it, and now you're lending it.
And now I'm lending it, so it's always all about the dough. But I had done a refinance, and, I thought, well, that was pretty cool. It was pretty easy and straightforward, so I called the loan officer who had helped me, and I said, hey, tell me a little bit more about your business. I mean, you did
How
a
did
great
you get,
job.
yeah, exactly.
Tell me about the business. What does it entail? And he kind of told me where to go to take the classes, and then I did that on my own and did my licensing, and then I got you on the phone, and the rest is history.
That's right. You lived in my office for a month or two.
Yeah. It's
listening to every phone call and entering every application that came in the door.
Oh, absolutely. No.
And that's usually how it always starts. It either you have a really good experience and you want to do exactly what they did, or you have a really horrible experience
and you want to say, "No, I can do better.
I
than
can
this.
do better than they did."
No, I'll stick with the bread.
If they're successful, heaven forbid I can.
Oh
right?
yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Makes perfect sense.
100%
All right.
correct.
So tell us your story, how you got into business, Dee.
Well, I started off as an administrator for another realtor. And so that kind of guided me in 2008. That was February of 2008. My son, I actually have two children. My sons are 18 and 16.
Okay.
And yes, they're breathing today.
Okay.
But I started, my oldest son is on the autism spectrum. And he got kicked out of 7 daycares in 1 year. And I needed something, I was his touchstone. So I needed something that I could do during the day while he was at school. But when he got off the bus, I could be at home.
Present. You could, yeah.
And
That's
was
cool.
That was what I was looking for. So I found a realtor actually in 2008 that needed an administrator. And I got into real estate. And I had always been interested in this. So people would tell me, hey, I'm looking for a house. This was back in 2004. So the internet was still pretty new. Would go on to realtor.com.
When it would take 10 minutes for it to dial up.
Exactly. So I would go on realtor.com and I would find homes for people without even being an agent. It's like, ooh, this one fits you perfectly. So when we moved to Charlotte and my son got kicked out of all these different daycares and I found this realtor who needed an administrator, I filled in for that position. So I already had a love for real estate.
Got it.
Had no idea this is where I was going to be because I have a degree in fashion design.
Okay, cool.
So that's how I started. But then when I took my class, a lot of people don't know a lot about me. I actually had 3 children. And when I took my class, I passed it on August 29th, 2008. And then August 31st, God called my daughter home. She died in a boating accident. I passed my class. My daughter passed away. I took my state licensure 1 month later and passed on the first try.
Wow.
So it was. I really do think that God was beside me, and my daughter was going, "Pick that one, mommy. Pick that one, mommy."
Right.
And help me.
I would imagine that would have distracted you some during the time you would be preparing for an exam.
Oh yes.
So
took me about a year to kind of write my life. And then I got into real estate full-time in 2009.
All right. So anyway, shifting gears, that's a hard one to shift from, but I feel like her spirit's here with us here today. So apologize if that offends anybody, but hopefully it doesn't. All right. So tell us, Mike, what is it that you enjoy most about being a licensed loan officer?
I think it's going on that journey with people, especially the ones that have been told no, or that, your credit isn't good or you don't qualify. because there is no real no. There may be a not right now, but there is no no.
Yeah.
It's you don't qualify now. This is where we start getting you to be able to qualify. We will set out a path, whether it's credit repair, which we've got great contacts to help with, and we let them know, okay, this is what you need to do. We'll get them in contact with credit repair, or if they need to establish credit, and we kind of let them know, it might be 3 to 6 months, 6 months to a year, but if you keep track on what we're telling you to do, we will get you to the closing table.
Absolutely. Sounds like you had a good mentor too.
I did. This guy named Chris.
Because it's all ringing true to how I do business. I don't know.
Well, most people don't know that real estate is a team sport.
You're right.
This is not a lone
Just
wolf kind of industry. You have got to have a good team put together. And there are so many credit repair agencies out there that'll charge thousands of dollars to people, and they don't do anything.
No results.
And if you don't have a good team behind you, you'll get taken instantly.
Absolutely. And we really pride ourselves, even with that. We have National Credit Care as our team sponsor, if you will, for credit. And they mostly work with mortgage professionals, and they understand that if they help one of my clients improve, that it leads to a client or a sale for you, right?
Exactly.
A closing for us. And then they're incentivized for that, incentivizes us to then send them more. There are some agencies you can go online, and once they might improve one or two little things at the beginning, but their goal is to keep you long-term on the monthly payment plan.
Yeah.
And there's no mortgage professional holding them accountable.
Exactly.
They're not trying to improve and impress the mortgage guy to send more. They just want to keep that person on the monthly payment. But that's a whole nother topic.
Oh, yeah.
But Adam, you're getting some free press here from Reshair Radio. Adam Kunda with National Credit Care. All right, so let's go to our question here. What you like most about real estate, Dee?
One of the things that I had said earlier is it's about family.
Yep.
This really is being part of a family from the start of this process. So many people are so excited and they're like, I'm ready to find a new home. I'm like, and then you have to kind of be the wet blanket. I'm like, have you talked to a mortgage professional
Yes.
yet? We have to be able to know what you can afford. I can show you any house you want to see, but the moment you fall in love with one and find out you can't afford it, or it doesn't fit with what you need, that you're going to be stretched, at that point, then you're mad at me. And I don't like people when they're mad at me. I don't like it when people get mad at me. But so
you're just doing your job, and that is to hold them accountable to the things that they need to be doing so that you can be effective in helping them.
And in this market, you definitely need to be ready to buy a home and be prepared financially once you find that home.
Absolutely. Well, we've got so much more to talk about. This has been a great first intro segment. So we've got here Dee Langley with Coldwell Banker, Mike Troche with NFM Lending, and later in the show, Jay McElveen with McElveen Insurance. You're listening to Reshair. I'm your show host. Stay tuned because we got so much more to talk about. We'll be right back. Hey, Chris Reshatar here with NFM Lending. Are you still sitting on a high interest rate mortgage loan? Are you thinking about consolidating, paying off some of those credit card debts, or maybe doing some home improvement? Now's the time to call because interest rates are still at a 40-year low. My number is 704-277-4463. That's 704-277-4463. I can also be found at themortgagegenius.com. Movement Mortgage is an equal housing lender and MLS license number 117266.
Did you know it has been reported that an estimated 80% of Americans have credit inaccuracies on their credit reports? Most people that have either inaccuracies or existing items that can be negotiated or adjusted do not know what their best score could be until they have found a new home, or buying a new car, or applying for a credit card. Then it's too late, and they have to accept a higher interest rate or lose the opportunity altogether. The time to work on improving your credit score is before you need it. Whether you have a 440, 640, or even a 740 FICO score, there is always room for improvement. The National Credit Care Team is comprised of individuals dedicated to helping the millions of consumers plagued by credit inaccuracies, errors, and fraud. It is our mission to help inform consumers and alleviate the stress of working with creditors and credit bureaus. Together, we can maximize your scores to get the best interest rates possible and save you money. Call now, 303-747-6390. That's 303-747-6390. Or visit us at www.nationalcreditcare.com.
Welcome back. You're listening to Reshair Radio. I'm your show host, Chris Reshatar, licensed loan officer with NFM Lending, license number 117266, and NFM is an equal housing lender. Got to get some of those little credentials out. But I will tell you, if you haven't listened to our show, the show really is about exciting, educating, and empowering Charlotte teens to make sound financial decisions. And today we've got D. Langley with Caldwell Banker, a real estate fashionista extraordinaire. I heard that fashion stuff. You said something about your background. I thought that was interesting. But D, we kind of prepared a really fun theme for the show. But before we get into our theme for our show today, I would like for you just to share with our listeners what your thoughts are on the housing market in our general Charlotte market.
Sure. One of the great things about Charlotte is we are one of the biggest MLS or multiple listing services in our state. Now, Charlotte Metro Region is made up of 17 counties. That includes the 4 in South Carolina.
Okay.
On a just a base market, it's not seller nor buyer market, we have about 25,000 listings per month. This past month, so June 2018, we had 9,500 homes for sale. So that means we're down to a third of the homes that we need for the buyers that are out there.
To solve the demand.
Exactly. So that's why right now it is a seller's market.
Okay.
You're seeing that sellers are getting 97.8% of their list price. You are seeing that sellers are pushing their list price a little, but for the most part, with a good real estate agent and a good partner with them, they're not going to try to be $20,000 or $30,000 over what the market will allow. But it will allow
that could just lead to problems, really.
Exactly, because you're going to have appraisal issues and all that kind of other stuff later.
Sure.
But with that being said, we actually our days on market are going down. We're only at 36 days on the market. So the moment that you list your house to the moment you get a contract is just over a month. You're right at 5 weeks. And
that's impressive. Wow.
And that includes the luxury market, which is where the majority of that wait time is coming in.
Right.
So
because the higher end market isn't going to sell in seconds so
Correct.
much because there's just fewer people that can qualify.
Correct. For a jumbo
big
jumbo loan.
market. And mortgage financing is more difficult. Let's just be
Correct.
real.
Correct. So anything under 300,000 is disappearing in hours.
That's exactly what I tell people.
The one I shot.
Because the first time buyer market today starts at 300. I mean, it goes from zero all the way to 300,000 because the average millennial buyer is in their low 30s.
Yes.
So they've been saving. They've been in a career sometimes close to 10 years.
Correct.
They have down payment money and they can afford. And if there's two people with two incomes, they can afford a $300,000 house for their first home. It's unbelievable.
And there's a lot of folks who are, first-time home buyers, and they're wanting that $150,000 or $160,000 house, and they're one of 29 offers.
Wow.
And I shock first-time home buyers when I tell them, we sold a home in 42 minutes.
Wow.
42 minutes. That's the quickest that a home has ever been sold. But again, you have the luxury homes that are taking 4 months to sell. So that averages down to that 36 days on market.
Wow. Cool. Well, that's good. I appreciate you sharing that perspective. So let's jump in. We did some preparation for this, and we have a theme today that's so super cool. Our theme today is how to stay sane. Yes, we said that word, sane, in a real estate transaction. So that's another word for the real estate transaction actually can be stressful, right?
Yes.
So why don't you intro as to your thoughts as to maybe why you wanted to come up with this topic?
Whenever I have a buyer or even my sellers, we have a conversation every single time, again, how we are a team and how we are preparing this on what are the key bumps in the road. I try to tell people, I said, I'm not a salesman. I couldn't sell you a house if I tried to. But my job is to be a guide, to be a consultant, to be the bus driver around the potholes in the transaction. So when we get started, there are some key things that we talk about especially for buyers. when your lender asks you for the same document for the third time, you're going to get to a point where you're going to say, if he asks me for that piece of paper one more time, he can keep the ever-loving house.
Right.
I'm done.
Right.
So that's when you call me. You get to vent.
Get a little venting, yeah.
And I'm okay with that. But I bought one home, built another home, and refinanced my home 3 times. And I have gotten to this point every single time I go through the mortgage process. And then I know it's coming.
Yep.
And
I have just to sort of jump in there. Mm-hmm. I've had situations where we say we still need the April bank statement. We still need the April bank statement. And the customer keeps sending the April bank statement, and it's from April 2016. And so they're getting frustrated, and we're getting frustrated when in reality, they're not looking at what it is we're looking for. They're not really reading it. They just go, I've already sent that, right? It's like, well, yeah, you did, but it was completely the wrong year. We can't use your last year's April bank statement. We got to use the current year. And they go, oh, right.
I just got a May statement 3 times. I'm like, I need the June one, but I got the May one. I got it 3 times.
Right, exactly.
I never knew that paper could die. Right. I never knew it had a lifespan.
And let's kind of jump in, because this is really, we're talking about how to stay sane in a real estate transaction. I feel like we're already there on bullet number 1, which is lending stress. Okay, so we've got 2 lenders in the room plus a realtor here. So lending stress really, it doesn't always have to be stressful, but when I share with people, I say, I'm a mortgage loan officer. Mm-hmm. If you know what mortgage stands for, the word mortgage stands for death contract. Okay? So basically, I sign people up for a death contract, and you get to put them in their dream home. Okay? So we have to go into the transaction with some expectations that it doesn't matter who it is. There really is not a lot of fun and excitement in the mortgage process. Now, if you're working with good professionals that are efficient, that care about you, you can have a good experience, but it never really is fun.
Yeah. I mean, having to dig up paperwork is the hardest thing that there is, because how many of us actually file our paperwork the way we're supposed to? How many of us actually keep our statements the way we're supposed to? But praise the Lord for electronic filing, that we can get it from the bank now. And praise the Lord for lenders who will get it from the bank for you.
Yes. Yeah, we do have to jump in every once in a while and say, if you don't know how to download a statement, we'll have to teach you how, or we'll come on into the office and we'll download it for you.
Exactly.
So, all right, so let's talk about general lending stress. And you mentioned, as we sort of prepare the show, that buyers really need to be pre-approved up front. And you kind of gave a little teaser actually earlier. And there is a difference between being pre-qualified and pre-approved. Mike, do you want to give us your opinion on what that difference is?
Yeah, absolutely. Pre-qualification is almost exactly what the word says. What that means is you had a lending professional, kind of take an application from you, ask you how much you make, pulled your credit, and kind of based on that situation, you would, case in point, qualify. We got an approval from the underwriting system, and it says you would qualify based on what you've told us. A pre-approval truly comes when you, in essence, prove that information you told us on the application.
Correct.
You send us, you say you make X amount of money, you send us your pay stubs. You say you had X amount of money in the bank, you send us your bank statements. And then we do our due diligence and we
send it to the underwriter.
Send it to the underwriter.
That's right.
When the underwriter takes a look at it and says, yep, what you said on the application matches exactly what is, factual in your case with your income and savings. And then the underwriter will give us, hence then the pre-approval, which means the loan is, it's gone through the process and it's there ready for you to go, and you got to go find that house now.
To jump in, a couple of things that I share with buyers and sellers is I say there's a 2-part process when it comes to lending. One is where you get approved, and then the other part is when the house gets approved. Those 2 things create a mortgage, allows you to purchase your home.
Absolutely. So I'm going to jump in here. So bottom line is there can be lending stress. There's going to be paperwork. Sometimes it may seem like they're asking for the same thing.
Correct.
Just hand it over.
Yes.
let go of your pride and vent with D. That's what the answer is. Number 2, you say the home is not yours.
Yes.
What do you mean by that? Again, we're talking about steps to stay sane.
Yes.
Okay.
So
in this process,
the hardest part about this is when you find your dream home, your emotions take over. Now, as a mortgage loan officer, as a real estate professional, a lot of times things will happen that, we don't put our emotions into this. We see it. It's a roof. It's a brick structure. It's just
termite
a house.
report.
It's where I lay my head at night.
Right.
But as soon as a buyer sees it, it becomes their home. Or if you're building and you've picked out the plans and you've picked out the colors and you've done all of that, it becomes your home. It's not your home.
Not so fast.
It's not your home yet. So it's really difficult when your emotions take over. And as professionals, we have to say, okay, hold on. It doesn't become yours until the day you sign and when it records. And then it becomes yours. Because there's so many people, especially when they're building, they'll go by every single day and they'll fuss at the contractors and these are employees for somebody else.
Right. They did something wrong on my house. Well, it's still their house.
Yes. And it's not yours yet. And they're not working for you technically.
So the key there is, in order to stay sane, just keep in mind that while this may be your future home and it's very easy to sort of maybe be possessive and want to be a part of that transaction, you do have to try to keep your emotions out of it to some degree, because it is a business transaction until the home is yours.
Correct.
Okay, cool. Number 3 is choose a wise closing date. Let's hit this one quickly.
A lot of times when we're closing as a real estate agent, we have to take things like July 4th into consideration. We just celebrated July 4th. It's a holiday. It fell on a Wednesday. So you had people who took Monday and Tuesday off. You had people who took Thursday and Friday off. Some people took the whole entire week off.
Right. So appraisers may not be working. Your mortgage company may be closed for a couple of days. Your paralegals at your attorney's offices might not be in the office.
So you don't want to close on July the 6th, which is a Friday.
Correct.
Because what happens is you've packed up your moving truck, and in our state, in North Carolina, South Carolina is different.
Sure.
In North Carolina, we are what's called a recordation state. So a recordation state means that the house does not belong to you until it records. Right. So if you are closing on a Friday at 3:00 in the afternoon and it has to record.
Something happens.
Exactly.
Guess
you
what?
Can't move
you
in.
don't move in until Monday.
Exactly.
Good example. So we've hit a few items. We got to take a quick break. You're listening to Chris Reshatar with Reshair Radio. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hi, this is Chris Reshatar, host of Reshair Radio and loan officer with NFM Lending. Is home buying in your future? Buying a home is one of the most significant financial decisions you will make in your life. Each step in the process is important to ensure a smooth transaction. But the most important step, even before you look at houses or call a realtor, is to get pre-approved. A pre-approval is when a lender evaluates a loan applicant's eligibility for a home loan. The loan officer collects information such as their employment, income, assets, and current expenses. The lender then gives the applicant an idea as to whether or not they could afford a home loan or an approximate amount of loan they could qualify for. If you're looking for platinum level service and open communication through the loan process, call me, Chris Reshatar, at 704-277-4463. That is 704-277-4463. LO license number 117266, corporate license number 2893. Go to nfmlending.com for licensing information, or you can apply online today at themortgagegenius.com.
Hi, this is Preston Sandlin with Home Inspection Carolina. We do home inspections, termite inspections, radon testing, any of your inspection needs. One thing that we do a little different, we fix the small stuff instead of putting it on the report. So if you need a home inspection, termite inspection, radon testing, please give us a call. If it's a home inspection or a pre-inspection, 704-542-6575, or check out our website at homeinspectioncarolina.com.
Welcome back to Reshair Radio. I'm your show host, Chris Reshatar, licensed loan officer with NFM Lending. And we've got here in the studio D. Langley with Caldwell Banker, realtor, and Mike Troche with NFM Lending, also on Team Reshatar here. And we have been talking about, what a great theme, D, How to stay sane in a real estate transaction. We talked about lending stress. Don't assume the home is yours until you've recorded. Choose a wise closing date to not add additional stress to the transaction. But another thing that you said was really important in staying sane in the process is that your home inspection results. What do you mean by, like, it's normal for there to be a lot on the home inspection, and try to realize that?
Correct. A lot of buyers will say, "Oh my gosh,
They freak out.
My whole report was 97 pages." I'm like, that's okay. It's going to be a long report because you're paying almost $500 for this report. You want to know the age of your water heater, HVAC, all of those
Make,
things.
model,
Exactly.
all kinds of stuff.
All of those things are going to be on that report, but that doesn't mean you have to ask for everything. If a light bulb is blown out in the light fixture, does not mean the light fixture doesn't function.
Right.
We need to change a light bulb.
Right.
It's okay.
It's kind of like, really, how to stay sane is breathe and expect that your home inspection is going to be a lengthy report, but it doesn't mean it's not at the right house.
Correct. And I read through these reports with the buyers, and then we decide, okay,
And you see them all the time.
Correct. What's the line in the sand? If there is the water heater literally does not function, that's a line in the sand because it's a $900 repair. So if they don't fix that, then yeah, I don't want to buy the house. Okay, fine. But what's your line in the sand? Some buyers will tell you, there's nothing massive on this report. I'm good with everything. And that's okay too.
Right, because a rocking commode just needs a little tightening down.
Exactly.
That's an easy fix.
Yes.
All right, cool. Let's go to the next one, which is, when will I know what I'm getting or bringing the day of closing? So in other words, we get close to the closing date.
Correct.
And sometimes we have the seller saying, how much am I getting?
Yes.
Sometimes we have the buyer saying, I need to get a check. I need to wire my funds. What is that going to be? And we had one recently. It was like a week and a half or 2 weeks before closing. And he was like, I need to go to the bank and get my wire. And so what do you say there?
When it comes to your proceeds and what your wiring instructions are going to be, you're definitely going to want to talk with your lender. You already know your lender is going to send you your closing disclosure 3 days before closing. And that's just the preliminary one.
Correct.
That's not going to be your final number, because then you have myself who goes over it, you guys go over it, the paralegal goes over it, and the buyer and the seller go over it. So if there is something wrong, that's when it gets corrected. You usually want to have it the night before. Usually we're hoping for 24 hours. And then once we have it 24 hours, then the wiring instructions come in for the buyers to go to the bank or the seller.
And it's not uncommon. I've had plenty of buyers go to the bank at 9 o'clock when it opens up.
Correct.
Order the wire or get their certified check, show up at the closing at 12, and the money's there.
Yes.
Money today moves very quickly from bank to bank. So you're sending it from your personal bank account to the attorney's escrow account.
Correct. And one thing to be aware of right now is it has happened in Charlotte. There is some wire fraud. It's always a good thing to call the attorney's office before they hit the button and make sure the account numbers are the same.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We always tell people, here's the number that you need to write the check for.
Yes.
Call your attorney to get the instructions.
Correct. And
because we cannot give that information
And
out.
the attorney will send you usually an
Secured.
encrypted email
That's
with
right.
the wiring instructions. But I always take the extra step of call the attorney that
Absolutely.
day.
All right. So the next one is appraisal stress. So in order, how do you stay sane during the appraisal stress process here?
There's 2 steps to this.
Okay.
And what we'll look at is, as a seller, as a listing agent, and that's primarily my business. Now, I do both buying and selling, but 65% of my business comes from listings. So when I have my seller, I have them prepare for the appraisal, and we prepare up front. So I've already given you your comps or your comparable market analysis, so you know what other homes your home compares against. Then I've had your home measured, and then I also ask you for a list of upgrades. Every dime you have ever spent in your house, whether it be the wax ring on the toilet or the 4 times that you painted your daughter's room from pink to black, I don't really care.
And that's usually how it goes.
Every dime you've ever spent. When the appraisal gets ordered, then I show up and say, "Hi, Mr. Appraiser," which they usually don't like how happy I am, but that's okay. And I give them the measurements, the comps, and then the list of upgrades, because I want there to be no reason for our home to not appraise.
Or for that person to not have good information.
Correct.
Right.
And then as a buyer, on the buyer's side, I also call the listing agent, say, "Hey, just want to make sure you know, have you heard from the appraiser? Make sure you meet them out there. Make sure you do the same things I do. And if it doesn't appraise, we take a breath as buyers, and then we ask, do you want to let the seller fight your appraisal? Because that is a possibility."
Right. So I think really the bottom line is in terms of how to stay sane in this process when it comes to appraisal, it's not uncommon for an appraisal value to not come in at the sales price.
Correct.
In our current market, because prices of homes are moving up aggressively.
Correct.
And the sales lag behind.
Yes.
So sometimes there are mistakes and errors and you can dispute it. Sometimes you can provide additional information. If you're doing the legwork that you had suggested, the hope is that it will minimize the property not appraising, but it still may happen. It doesn't mean you should freak out.
Correct.
Okay? Because there are remedies, there are ways you can dispute, and it might just be that you need time to negotiate with the seller to come down the $4,000 it was short.
Exactly.
And the seller may say, okay, we knew we were pushing the envelope. We were a little worried. We'll bring it down from 205 to 201. We're good to go.
Exactly.
So rely on your professional realtors to guide you through the process, your mortgage lender, and keep your sanity.
Correct.
All right, go to the next one. Homeowners Association. What are those crazy charges that show up?
Okay, so in North Carolina, homeowners associations have a lot more power than as real estate agents we would prefer they have. And we have brought it up in front of the commission, and so far nobody's really done a whole bunch. So we need to revolt a little bit more for that. So my fellow realtors, let's get together for that. But going back to the homeowners associations, now it was 2 years ago that they flipped and now made the transfer fees now are the seller's problem, not the buyer's problem, because HOA companies would not share what the transfer fees were to the buyers. And so they were like, okay, well, if you're not going to tell us, then we're going to make the sellers pay them. And sellers just started absorbing those costs. So those are things that sellers need to know. You now have transfer fees. Buyers need to know they may have a capital contribution that they have to pay into these HOAs.
If there's a condominium, then there's cost to get the data that the lender needs to approve the condo project that you have to pay. Really, we're seeing anywhere from $150 to $250 these days just to get a one-page, 30-question document.
Yeah, exactly.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and
that they're just downloading for the same community that has 150
over
units.
And over again.
It's highway. But anyway, I need to be friendly to all people in our community. I'm trying hard here. Okay, so let's move to the next item on how to stay sane in a real estate transaction is understanding your timelines, due diligence dates, closing dates, and et cetera. Do you have any examples there that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah. So one of the things is every time that I have a transaction or a contract that comes in, I put all of my dates into my phone. Whenever my kids have a dentist appointment or I have a doctor's appointment, my doctor always says, "Hey, do you want one of those little cards?" I'm like, "No, because if I don't put it in my phone, you're not going to see me. Right. I will not be here." The same thing goes, I live by my calendar. And so as soon as your offer becomes a contract, it goes straight into my calendar. And I let people know, usually 24, 48 hours before their due diligence runs out. That is your investigation time on your home. About 24 to 48 hours. Hey, are you satisfied with everything we have done?
Appraisal, lender approval,
home
repairs,
inspections, repairs. And repairs don't have to be done.
Right.
But we negotiated them all.
Right.
Are you happy? Are you ready to move forward? Because in North Carolina, the moment that you go past 5:01 p.m., your earnest money is now gone if you pull out of the transaction.
Goes directly to the seller. They keep that money. So I think the bottom line there is terms of staying sane in this process is you need to understand those timelines. You need to calendar them as well, and make sure that you're working toward the things that you need to do, like getting your loan documents in. And if we are going to get repairs, like identify the ones that need to be done and let the seller have time to identify they're okay with that.
Correct. And
can't wait around.
Do understand that the sellers do not have to give you an extension. They are not required.
Correct.
But you can ask for one.
Sure. All right. Well, we got to get the show wrapped up. We got about a minute left. This has been so much fun for at least this segment. We'll be back here in a minute with Jay, but we're going to let you and Mike head out the door here shortly. So real quick, Dee, you have a special offer for anyone that's listening to Reshair Radio. As long as they mention listening to us on the show, you'd like to provide what?
I would like to give any buyer or seller a $500 credit as long as they mention Chris Reshatar or Reshair Radio.
Sweet.
I'd be happy to.
That's free money, folks.
Yes, it is.
And you're looking for like the Volkswagen commercial buyers wanted and sellers wanted.
You got it.
Instead of drivers, we're looking for buyers or sellers.
Exactly.
So, Dee, real quick, give us your phone number.
704-989-9793.
Okay, and if you have you need to contact me for any reason, you can contact me at 704-277-4463. And as always, just as a quick reminder, you can listen to any show in its entirety on reshairradio.com. That's RESH airradio.com. We are going to be right back here with Jay McElveen with McElveen Insurance, powered by Goosehead Insurance. Jay's got some really great information this week on questions that you need to ask your insurance provider before you secure your homeowner's policy. It's got about 5 or 6 critical questions so that you know what to ask for. These are all super important questions. Jay is one of our show expert contributors. We appreciate his support. So we'll be back with Jay. But Dee, Mike, thanks for being on the show for these segments. And we'll be back here for another segment. So please stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Preston Sandlin with Home Inspection Carolina. We do home inspections, termite inspections, radon testing, any of your inspection needs. One thing that we do a little different, we fix the small stuff instead of putting it on the report. So if you need a home inspection, termite inspection, radon testing, please give us a call. If it's a home inspection or a pre-inspection, 704-542-6575, or check out our website at homeinspectioncarolina.com.
Welcome back to Reshair Radio. I'm your show host, Chris Reshatar. We are just about ready to wrap our last segment up here of Reshair Radio. If you have not been listening to our show, we've had some great guests on the show. Carla Rodriguez with Wilkinson ERA. We've had Mike Troche with NFM Lending. And now we have up Jay McElveen with McElveen Agency. Jay, welcome back.
Thanks, Chris.
All right. So, Jay, you've been on the show before. You have prepared some really good information. You know, I see commercials on the TV really ad nauseum about all these different insurance carriers, and most of them are big names around the country. I'm not here to badmouth any agency, any firm, any company, but it's a lot of, I feel like the industry is commoditized, and I think you bring kind of a personal touch to personal and casualty insurance. I've been working with you for a while now. You've provided excellent service to my clients and my team members, but you came up with some really good information in terms of, you know, what questions to ask your insurance agent when you're getting ready to get a homeowner's insurance policy. So
Absolutely.
Why don't you kind of kick it off? What questions should our listeners be asking? Because they can call a national carrier, but they can also call you, a local Charlotte guy, and get that help.
So first off, you want to ask your agent, there's a few questions you want to ask. You want to first ask, is the insurance carrier that you're going with A-rated? So what I mean by that, all carriers are rated by the A&M Best, which is a company who rates them. And you want to make sure that these carriers are not taking on more risk than they can afford.
And that rating scale follows like grades in school, right?
Right, absolutely. So
A, B, whatever.
Exactly. So when you see, we don't work with carriers that have pulled out after hurricanes. So if you see, you know, back in '89 when Hugo hit South Carolina, several insurance carriers pulled out. Same thing, you know, carriers are pulled out of Florida. We look for that. We look at their financials, do with a fine comb, if you will.
Yeah, fine tooth comb. They say, Jay.
Fine tooth comb, and look at them to make sure that all their financials are in order before we partner with them. We want to make sure.
Well, that's interesting.
Right. We want to make sure our clients, when they do have a claim, they're not going to have any problem accessing the money that they paid for.
Sweet. So you're going to check the rating. and you're only going to provide carriers that have a really strong A rating.
Correct. Because a lot of our carriers, our clients come on, well, I've never heard of that carrier. Well, I've never heard of a lot of things either. That don't make them bad.
Right.
I provide that information. I have financials on all my carriers. I send to my clients if they ask for it, just to prove. And also one of the carriers I use also does my insurance. And a lot of clients have questions about it. They say, well, I've never heard of this carrier. I'm like, listen, certainly I wouldn't put my own largest asset in jeopardy, and I certainly wouldn't put my clients. So this client is an A-rated carrier. I've been working with all my carriers for about 5.5 years now, and I've never had any issues on claims.
Okay, and I think what you're really saying is that you do have to put a little trust in the professional that you're working with.
Absolutely.
And you don't always get that option if you call a big 800 number Experience. Am I right?
Right. They're not going to really tailor that quote to you. I'm not going off the price is the last thing I'm thinking about, honestly. I'm at the end of the day, 9 out of 10 times I'm going to be less expensive. But I'm not worried about so much of the price. I want to find the right coverages and the guts of that policy to fit what you need, and then we'll talk about the price. Because I don't want my clients just to look at the bottom of the quote and just say premium. Oh, this was the least expensive, but you never know, they might have a $5,000 deductible, and we have $1,000, and we might be $20 more. So, that explains it. So that's the main thing.
What's the next question?
Another one is replacement cost versus market value. I have this question all the time. Clients say, well, Jay, I bought this home for $250,000, but you only have the replacement cost at $203,000. Are you insuring my asset to its full value? What people don't understand, as Carla was highlighting earlier, that Charlotte's real estate market is in high demand. So, but it has a low supply of homes right now. So the market value is going to be higher. They've got to understand that you're going to pay more for the home.
Well, and you're not paying to replace the dirt.
Exactly. We don't insure
right? You
dirt.
buy the house and the land as a package,
Absolutely.
But if the house burns down, you only have to replace the house,
Exactly.
not
We're
the
not
land.
Build you new land. That's not the way it works. So if we all do it by square footage. Kind of as a rule of thumb, you want to be about $125 per square foot as a rule of thumb. I do not insure homes for usually less than that.
Okay.
I've seen nightmares happen, and it's scary.
You can only build 3/4 of the home back.
Right. They say, well, I'm trying to get my price down. Well, let's find other ways. But we're not gonna remove coverages to do that. We can work with deductibles, things of that nature. But we're certainly not going to decrease coverages just so you can afford the insurance payment. We can find other ways to do that.
Makes sense.
So, right. So the next thing is, does my policy cover replacement cost or actual cash value? Most people have no idea what the difference is. Actual cash value is depreciated. So if you have a home that is only covered by actual cash value, say you have a TV that's $1,000 that's covered at ACV, which is actual cash value. Well, it's a 3-year-old TV. It's going to be worth about $200. We're going to pay you $200, not the actual $1,000 you paid for the TV when you initially bought it. Same thing with a home. I've seen that Costco's had commercials for their insurance department. Well, Costco is using carriers that do actual cash value. I do not do carriers that use actual cash value. Our carriers are replacement cost. So we're going to value your home at replacement cost.
Right, because you got to be able to
takes away the depreciation.
Because a new TV isn't going to be $200. Now they have come down in price.
Exactly.
But it might not be as cheap as what the one has devalued to.
Right. So always ask your client or always ask your agent if it's valued at replacement cost.
Especially where homes actually typically appreciate versus not.
Exactly.
All right, that makes sense. What's the next question?
Another one is, how's the claims process with carrier? I'm very transparent with my clients. I will tell them if I've had bad experience with claims. I kind of steer that ship most of the time when my clients have claims.
That was ship like the thing that floats.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're yes, we steer that ship all the way down to make sure that that's a kind of a very seamless process with my clients on the claims. It is a headache, and most of your claims happen with. Honestly, when you just expect them in the middle of the night, you never know your house might be burned down. That's why, just like Mike said, I don't have an office phone. All my agents have a cell phone that work for me. So we do not use office phones because I can't stand them. We're available 24/7. It can get, at certain times I've regretted that, but it is part of my job to be there 24/7 for my clients. And 8 to 5 is not when they always need me.
That's right.
So the claims process is very important. You want to make sure that the carriers are paying out within a certain time. They don't drag their feet. It doesn't take months, because people don't have months to rebuild their home.
Got it. Next question.
This is most important is, ask your insurance agent, do you represent several carriers or just one? And then if they only represent one, ask them what they'll do when the premium increases or if you get canceled due to a claim.
All
Ask
right.
them.
So if they're just one company, maybe a national brand,
Mm-hmm.
they only provide one option. What happens then if my policy goes up or you cancel my policy? What happens to me?
Exactly. Every carrier in the insurance market, rates go up and down every year. That's what we kind of hone in on. We really want to make sure we get that carrier as the rates lower. So you can say that, I've been with this carrier for 20 years, I should get some kind of benefit from that. That's not true. That's the old days of thinking. I've moved insurance around for clients.
Pensions are gone.
Right.
The loyalty in our society is not there.
Exactly. It doesn't matter if you move your insurance to a different carrier every single year. Customer loyalty in insurance is kind of a myth. It really doesn't. There is one or two endorsements you can get for being with the national carrier for about 20 plus years, and that's about it. So you want to make sure that you have a broker who has access to 20, 30 carriers. Like us, we have access to 25 plus carriers. So we can, every single year, we are marketing our clients to make sure your premiums stay down. Our business is about retention and residual
You could
income.
actually move that client from one carrier to the next
And it's
year.
very seamless.
That's actually resonating to me because I had a closing 2 weeks ago with a major carrier, and I just received an email saying we're canceling the policy. We're not able to. We realized, and that's how the email was sent out. We realized that we were not able to insure this home because it was from 1952. So now my client is like, Carl, I have a week, and they're not offering me any solutions.
Exactly. They'll go in there and say, well, we looked at the home and it doesn't have this update or that update, or we don't like the wiring.
We just
or
don't
the
like
plumbing.
something, right?
Right. So they can say, well, we're the only carrier that does polybutylene plumbing or whatever. That's not true. So, we have so many options, and that's the reason I was with a national carrier. I was an agent for them, and I left because of that. I was losing business. My retention was about 53%, and now we're about 97%. So we really don't lose clients.
Wow,
Definitely
that's
price or
super
service,
impressive.
but, yeah, you give clients options. Like I said, you go back to like the Patriots didn't win the Super Bowl with one play in their playbook. The Eagles didn't win the Super Bowl with one play in their playbook. You've got to have different options to win. So I hone in on that with clients. I'm like, when
Thanks for bringing up the Eagles, by the way.
No problem. I thought
and
about
I'm in
that.
Charlotte.
I was like,
I do like
man.
the Panthers, but
Well,
Better now.
we'll see you this year.
that's what we'll see. That's right.
But yeah, so that's kind of what I wanted to really talk about today. Is some of the things. Just ask your insurance agent these important questions to make sure you're getting the right policy for your needs.
Sweet. So, Jay, if our listeners need to get a hold of you, what is your phone number, cell, and then maybe your email and or website, somewhere where they can connect with you?
Absolutely. So my cell phone number is 704-453-0456.
Say it one more time.
704-453-0456. And my email is my name. So it's JAY.MCELV as in Victor, EEN @goosehead.com. So it's just j.McElveen @goosehead.com. And you can reach me anytime, pretty much 24/7. I'm always available. Anytime after 5, it doesn't really matter.
Jay, I do have to share with you that I do much appreciate you being a sponsor for Reshair Radio, and more importantly, appreciate you being a great provider for our clients. We take a lot of pride in taking care of our clients, and part of that service level that we give is the service that you give. You probably retain about 96% of my clients,
Certainly do.
or you get a
They've
bunch of
been
them at least.
absolutely wonderful to work with.
So we do appreciate that. I will
Absolutely.
share with our listeners real quick as I wrap up the show. It's been great to have everybody on. And if you want to listen to Reshair Radio, this show in its entirety, you can listen back by going to reshairradio.com. That's RESHAIR radio.com, reshairradio.com. This show and all other shows are posted on there. You can actually find Jay's information on our website too, as well as an expert contributor. So if you need any help with your mortgages in English, since we got Mike doing the Spanish stuff here, my website address is themortgagegenius.com. As always, you can call me at 704-277-4463. Again, you've been listening to Chris Reshatar, your host of Reshair Radio. We'll be back again next week on ESPN The Game every Sunday at 10 o'clock. Everyone, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you so
Thanks.
much.
Have a great week.
Hi, this is Preston Sandlin with Home Inspection Carolina. We do home inspections, termite inspections, radon testing, any of your inspection needs. One thing that we do a little different, we fix the small stuff instead of putting it on the report. So if you need a home inspection, termite inspection, radon testing, please give us a call. If it's a home inspection or a pre-inspection, 704-542-6575, or check out our website at homeinspectioncarolina.com.
You've been listening to Reshair with Chris Reshatar, a seasoned licensed mortgage consultant, originator license number 117266. Learn more online at themortgagegenius.com.